Hi, this is the Advanced Planning Studio, Plan 3000, Plan 7126, plan making. So I'm going to explain today why we're doing a site visit. And as you've read in the ECP, we encourage students to enroll in the flexible version where you have more face-to-face interaction with instructor. You can still do this course externally, but you're going to get a bit more out of it if you are having those face-to-face interaction with the instructor. But we're doing this virtual site visit for students that can't go on the site. We also propose a real site visit for students that can come as well. So we're proposing both. So this video is also a resource for you as well, even if you go on the site. This is the area here, so we are just here. This is Morrison Street, and your project area is Morrison Street, Browning Street. This street there, it's available on a blackboard, and Granville Street is another boundary, and Orange Street is another boundary, and Bank Street here. So it's quite a large perimeter with mostly residential here, a mix of users, and of course the main street that is starting here, which is Boundary Street. So the main assessment that you have to do for this course is to develop a regeneration plan for this area for the next 15 years. So regeneration is an intervention on the built environment and trying to anticipate the growth of this area as well, over 15 years approximately. So the aim of today's site visit is for you to identify some of the planning issues, and you've got this template here available on the blackboard that you can complete in your own time, and you can come back on the site as well on your own, or also complete that online. You don't necessarily have to go on the site, even if it's better to go there. So there are different issues that you can identify there, but mainly today we will do 4 things. We will look at some of the characteristic of the community, so it's more related to the social aspect of planning. We'll look at some of the economy here and what might be the issue associated to that at the moment, and also some of the environmental issues that might be there in the area. So it's really about the site visit and the small assessment you're doing. It's really about listing all the issues that are today, and then your plan will try to solve those issues over a time frame of 15 years. The last thing we're going to look at also is the thing about mobility, because you will have to develop a mobility plan. So I'll point out some of the issues related to the mobility within this precinct. So that's really the plan of this site visit, for you to identify those different issues to start developing strategies for your regeneration plan. So about the social aspect, West End is a very tight and connected community with quite a lot of influential people in this community, planners and designers. So they do have quite an impact on what's happening in the area, and they're quite loud when it's about speaking about new development. And the community in general, we're living in West End, really doesn't like this kind of new development, which is really out of scale, not reflecting the character of the community at all. So in your regeneration plan over 15 years, you don't want to create those kind of environments which are not really connected to the history of West End. So um, this might be one of the main social issue at the moment. It's new development is kind of bringing new people in the area. I mean, you have to accommodate growth, but the way they're developing this kind of urban environment doesn't really suit the community. So again, in your plan, you want to make sure you develop a plan that is kind of aligned with the community values as well. So this is the entrance of the west, the new development West Village, and as you can see, it's a bit different from what's around Boundary Street. It's a bit more artificial. Um, and it's also not entirely a public space because it's pretty controlled. So they won't accept, homeless in here. So it's a pretty controlled public space. And again, it created some controversy with the community because it's not really part of the West End character. So again, those kind of new development are not very aligned with what West End is. And again, this idea of a public space, but it's pretty controlled. Um, you know, you're not allowed to do things in here, so it's more a public space part of a private development than really a public space for the community. So a bit different here than other public space we're gonna have a look at a bit later. So this is a kind of iconic public space in West End, and as you can see, there are quite a lot of people in there. So it means it's being used and it's well designed and it works. So part of your plan as well on the social aspect is to kind of evaluate: do we have enough public spaces in West End and green spaces where people can relax and talk to each other like we're doing right now. Um, this is, the kind of public space you want to keep. Regeneration is not about, reinventing the community and or building a new community. It's also keeping what works. So I guess, this would be easier for students that can come on site, but there are things that, you want to keep because they're working well. So regeneration, this is the idea of first evaluating what is there, what works, and what doesn't work, and then trying to improve what doesn't work. But please do keep spaces or areas that works. This one works because you can see people are relaxing, families, young people talking to each other. So it's also a space where people do develop and nurture those social networks. So it's important to keep those spaces that are working. So I would and the community is very attached to this area because they were part of the design. So you don't want to, as a planner doing regeneration, you don't want to destroy this kind of well-working public spaces. So to sustain, you know, the economy in the area, this shop, for example, is selling records. Um, you might want to help those tenants to stay in the area because it's providing a kind of a diverse type of economy. In front there was a shop selling comics. It's closed now, but it's participates to the identity of the area. So your plan can also include, spatial strategies like we've been talking about, but also non-spatial strategies. We could be, you could talk about, subsidies that the council might allocate to this type of businesses. So your plan should incorporate spatial strategies, but also non-spatial strategies. You can also include that in your plan to, for example, to sustain this type of retail or this type of economic activities, which participate to the diversity of West End as a community. It's not just chain stores. You've got different retail and this one selling vinyls or records. So you want to try to keep those kind of commercial activities in the area with your plan. So in terms of your mobility plan that we have to develop, the mobility plan is really to increase the connectivity in the area, especially for pedestrians. But you can propose some kind of improvements like this one, which was led by the community. We are at the corner of Besant and O'Connell Street in West End, and this kind of design, provide shades and also provide spaces to relax, and it's kind of adding to the design and to the beauty of the area. This is the kind of thing you can propose in your mobility plan as well. It's not just about road direction and traffic. It can be also improvement of the street landscape. So this kind of thing is something you can add to your plan definitely as well. How to make the experience of the pedestrian a better experience with nice places to relax. It also provides a bit of a buffer to the car traffic because of the vegetation. So it's a place where you're happy to stay. The city plan is predicting an increase of population in the area, so your plan will have to accommodate growth as well. But we will give you the choice to have three scenarios. So not a lot of change, which means kind of keep kind of the low density. Scenario 2 would be a bit more change with a bit of a higher density, and the third scenario is really the scenario that is the current neighborhood plan that we call kind of high density. So you'll have to make a choice between those three scenarios based on your knowledge of the community as well. You're reporting to Brisbane City Council. So which scenario do you use? If you use the number one, the community is likely to really like your plan. But if you estimate that it's important to accommodate more growth, then you can go for scenario number 2 or scenario number 3. So this is really a balance between accommodating growth and pleasing the community. But given the nature of the community, it's important that you get an understanding of this community. So we're going to have Phil Haywood intervening in this class during the site visit as well, to actually give you an understanding of what the community likes or dislike in terms of development. For example, they really don't like the new West End Village, which is really out of scale. So your plan will have to incorporate this, what are the community values, because you don't want to develop a plan that is totally disconnected from what the community wants. So the site visit is really the first phase of your plan, which is divided in 3 phases: assessment, visioning, and implementation. So the site visit is really about the assessment. And you do have this form here that you need to fill in, which is really about identifying the planning issues. So for example, you get the built environment, you'll have to tell us what is a mix of uses. You get something about heritage building, so you'll have to tell us where are the heritage building in the area. You can find that online as well, so you don't necessarily have to go on the site. You have a question about transport, about the design, etc. This information can then be organized into a SWOT. I'm sure you've done this exercise before, but it's basically stating if some of this data is a strength, a weakness, an opportunity, or a threat. So you also have to consider a bit what's happening outside the area. So if for example, you've got a new train station or a new infrastructure outside the area, it might be an opportunity. If you get a new development outside the area, it might be a threat or an opportunity for you to decide. So
The weaknesses and strengths are within the area, but straight opportunities are usually things happening a bit outside the area, or around the area. I mean, things that might influence the development of this area as well. Um, so the course will be really to, um, from this data to develop some strategies in terms of the social components, the economy, and the environment. So in this class, you have to develop three strategies that you feel they are essential for the future of West End. And then the last task is really about the land use and deciding about this scenario and proposing a new land use map depending on the scenario you've chosen, and giving us an idea of the number of new people you're going to accommodate for the next 15 years. So basically, this is a bit of a summary of the regeneration plan you will have to present, and also present, in class, but also deliver a new report as the final assessment.